Hello, part 2. Part 2 of the video is more of that moral relativism stuff. And he objects to Ayn Rand's idea that there's objective values and ethics. But it seems to me that if you can rationally prove that morality is connected to well-being and happiness, all humans experience, or at least the majority, vast majority, like 99%, experience things like well-being and happiness, and that's an issue. If you can tie morality to that, then you can come up with objective moral values that apply to everyone. For instance, with honesty again, that it seems like if you are not honest and you just lie all the time, that's going to hurt the well-being of you, the liar, and everyone around you. So it seems like honesty is a moral value / virtue that applies to everyone. Also, by the way, I have a theory that Ayn Rand is actually a virtue ethicist rather than mainly just an ethical egoist, because she has lists of virtues and she likes Aristotle, so there seems to be a lot of evidence that are all things virtue ethics involved. If you want to know what that is, it takes a long time to explain. I recommend just going and reading stuff about it. This book's really good introduction to virtue ethics. Anyway. So yeah, right there, there's an objective moral value that seems to apply to everyone. Virtues in general seem to apply to everyone, because humans are kind of the same all around the planet. So there's certain things which seem to apply to them all, especially these virtues. So yeah, I just want to, it's most fresh in my mind. At the end there, he says something like, who does the menial labor and the cooking and the cleaning at Galt's Gulch? Well, this is proof that I didn't read the book. Because when they create Galt's Gulch, those genius types do take over those roles. The Dagny Taggart main female character, she's like the main character. She becomes like a maid and she does cooking and cleaning and stuff. And I think like Galt becomes a mechanic or something. It's been a long time since I read the book. Oh yeah, they did mention that the book is really long. It's over 1,000 pages. The trick to reading Atlas Shrugged, because it's so long, is to read it in parts. See, Atlas Shrugged is separated into 3 sections. Each section is titled after one of the 3 main laws of logic. So yeah, just think of the book as parts. So instead of trying to read the whole book, try to read just this part. And then once you're done with part 1, you can go off and do other things and come back a few months later to read the next part. That's what I did. That's why it took me like a year to read Atlas Shrugged, because I'd read a part and then I'd go off and do other stuff. Yeah, I think Rand's whole point with the second-handers and the whole storyline that he summarized might be a part of her virtue ethics. The idea is that if you're a fully virtuous person, you should become sort of like one of these genius types, because we all really have the capability to become a John Galt, if we follow the virtues of productiveness and honesty and all integrity and rationality. Which, by the way, if you become an objectivist, or you are an objectivist looking this, be very careful with that little spot right there, because I've noticed that self-described objectivists have a habit of giving themselves standards that they can't reach. They want to be a John Galt, but they can't be a John Galt right off the bat. And maybe they'll never be a John Galt, and then they hate themselves and they get all depressed because they think, well, I'm following objectivism, I'm being a good person, and I'm working really hard, how come I'm not John Galt yet? Yeah, try not to worry about that. Also, another problem with objectivism that can occur is the feeling that everyone around you is a stupid idiot. I'll get that in the next video. But anyway, yeah, that's the whole, I think that's really the whole idea of the second-handers. And the second-handers are people who are just evil villains. They don't follow the virtues at all. Because if you don't follow the virtues, i.e., you don't consider self-interest, you don't consider happiness, you don't consider things like, well, I want to be happy and successful and do well. What should I do? I should do these things. Because in the Ayn Rand Atlas Shrugged universe, the bad guys that take over, the stupid people, their thoughts are more like, what could I do to help all of society? I should not think about how I can be happy, but how I can make everyone around me happy. But the problem that seems to happen is if everyone thinks that, then no one's happy. Or at the very least, you get into the thought of everyone around me should be obligated to try to make me happy rather than I try to make myself happy by making myself a better person. Because really, Ayn Rand's entire ethics can be summed up in the idea that if you want to be a happy person, a contented person, then you have to be a good person. You have to follow the virtues. Ayn Rand does not at all believe that you should just do whatever the hell you feel like. She does not think that you should do whatever you think's in your self-interest and screw who it hurts at all. That's why I really wish that she'd just say that she's a virtue ethicist. I wish she did not say that she's an egoist, even though in a way it kind of fits what she's doing, because her whole idea is I should try to be happy. Anyway, I'm kind of going off into a tangent, but yeah. I don't think that the atheist experienced guys totally understand objectivism, and it's hard to. You kind of have to read like thousands of pages of Ayn Rand stuff to understand it, and it helps if you already have like a philosophic background in ethics. Like I already know Aristotle pretty well, and I already know virtue ethics pretty well, so if you don't have that background, you're missing a lot of important background information that's important to understanding this stuff. So it's hard to blame people for not understanding objectivism. Well, that's it, part 2, plus I'll add a little bit extra.